It turns out that if you continuously look into another person's eyes for a long period of time, you can actually change your own consciousness. What happens if you stare in the mirror? Researcher Giovanni Caputo of Urbino University already undertook similar experiments. So a few years ago they were recruited 50 volunteers who had to look at his own reflection in a mirror in a dimly lit room. At the time of the experiment it was given to the people for only 10 minutes, but after a moment many volunteers began to experience a change of consciousness. First, they began to see his own reflection deformed, and then modified, and then in the mirror and did appear bizarre monsters or monsters. Some people have seen in the mirror of deceased family members. Curiously, the hallucinations became more dramatic when volunteers were changing mirrors. New research scientist for the new experiment has selected 40 volunteers. Among them were young people and adults. This experiment was carried out again in a dimly lit room, but now people had to sit in the chairs and watch your partner's eyes. Distance partner eye was minimal, only 1 meter. The backlight was set so that the participants could distinguish small features opponent face. However, color perception was significantly reduced. The people were divided into 2 groups. Half of the participants looked at each other, and the rest allocated to each other back. The task of the second group of volunteers was to stare at the wall. For the purity of the experiment, in order to avoid unnecessary fantasies, participants not previously been informed of the order. The author of experiment to be sure that all the changes in consciousness are not the result of expectations. So, people were convinced that participate only in meditative experience. At the end of the short-term experiment, the volunteers filled out questionnaires. It was found that people who watched in-person colleague experiment perceived the colors are more intense and deeper sounds. They thought that if time slowed down, and the thoughts were disordered. 90% of people from the first group admitted that their partner's face was contorted, 75% had seen opposite or monstrous creatures. 15% admitted that in the face of your partner clearly discerned some of the dead relatives.